Shop smart, shop S-Smart.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of New Book Who Dis. I am your host, DeathMetalHero, and with me is a returning friend, Dojo Kun Comics. What's going on, Dojo?
Hey,
how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's been a while since we gotten a chance to chat.
Yes.
So what's been going on since the last time we hung out, man? What you been reading?
Oh boy, a lot of great stuff has been coming into my mailbox. In fact, I had to take apart the old mailbox and put an industrial-sized one so that all the boxes would fit in there.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
And what's good about these last couple of weeks, if there's a silver lining to my wife being out of town, it's that these books are coming in while she's not here.
Oh, that way she can't get mad at you.
Exactly.
Do you have more comics than you did last time? No, absolutely not. You're seeing things. They've always been here. I just shuffled a few around.
So for her, it's not really about the money because the money I'm buying these with is my own, but she's all about the space. So she's like, you do not need to have more boxes. Anyway, the boxes are coming
in. You put together a library of good stuff, man. That's what it is.
So recently, I got one right here. I received Cobalt Deathstalks Us. This is the second series of 2 so far.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that one.
So, I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it. Cobalt is woefully underfunded. It is a sleeper that I think a lot of people are sleeping on and not backing as many as should be backing this book because, he's a good friend of mine, so of course I'd want to support it. But even more than that, these books are very well written. They are about the size of a floppy, though. So like you were saying before the show, you get to the end of this book and you're like, oh, I'm done? I need more.
Right. And that's what you want. You want that feeling at the end of a book, at least when you're creating something. And, I imagine it's good for the creator to know, like, hey, this book, it was entertaining and I moved along. I mean, I was telling you backstage, I got Fiendish 2 and I read it last night. And, I got through reading it and I didn't realize that I was almost done with it until I finished the book. And I was like, well, shit, I need more of this story. So, I mean, that's what you want, man. That's absolutely what you want. Let's go ahead and say hi to the chat before we get too far into it, because I see you got a stack back there, and
I got some over here on my side too.
Awesome. What's up, Ray? Good to see you. He says first. Ha ha ha. Hail, brother. Good to see you. We got Morb357. What's up, Morb? Good to see you, man. Watching the Cowboys-Chargers game, so I may not be able to say. Oh, well, I appreciate you swinging by. This is actually the writer of the book that I am working on, Mercenary Guild. I'm doing art chores on Mercenary Guild, penciling and inking.
Excellent.
Hey, and there's my girl. How you doing, beautiful? Good to see you. I appreciate you always being here. Skull.
Oh, I need to say that with a drink.
My favorite feline, my partner in crime, and my favorite troublemaker. All wrapped into one. I got lucky. Hey, we got a Neff. Mr. Nefarious. What's going on, Neff? Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. Let's see. And please listen to the Wise Feline. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Indeed.
Yeah. I got Fiendish 2. I had Vreeny come on for the show last night, and it was a good episode. And just decided to read comics, because when you're working on stuff, you know, if you're working in comics, I feel like we all need to be widely read in comics. Not just the writers, not just the artists, but everybody. Everybody should be widely read in comics. That way we know what's out there. We know what the level of quality is, what to see what other people are doing, get inspired by what you're reading. Like, and if if the comic that you read isn't all that good, whatever. At least, you have something to compare things to. Having the ability to get the contrast so you know what's good and what's bad. I mean, we grew up, I assume you're about the same age as I am, probably maybe a little bit older. We grew up in an era of amazing books, where the creators actually cared about what they were making. And so being able to have that and notice, when a book might not be as good, having that contrast, being able to tell. So, being widely read is a good thing, I believe.
It's a very good point. We have gold standards like from the early 80s with Marv Wolfman and George Perez, for example, on the New Teen Titans. We've got Chris Claremont and John Byrne on the Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
Those books, I think, are a gold standard that a lot of us try to emulate. But like you said, even recent books that we look at, for those that missed the mark, perhaps we can take that as a learning, a lesson to say, okay, well, if I feel that book was underwhelming, why did I feel that was underwhelming? And what can I do to avoid my customers, my backers, or my fans from feeling that same way about mine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the way to look at it too. I agree with Feline's statement here. Neff, you rock, buddy. Good. Always good to see you, man. But yeah, being able to know what quality is, and then, like you said, why did this not work for me? It's easy to say, oh, well, this is shit or whatever. But being able to critically think about something and be like, okay, why did this not work for me? How can I avoid doing that in my own work? Whether it's visually or storytelling wise or narrative wise, that's important for creatives. And to be able to look at our own work critically is also crucial. And sometimes we need somebody on the outside to give us to help us see the forest from the trees is the analogy that I always like to use. This one right here, this one right here is my outside eyes. Always. She helps me see the forest from the trees all the time. So it's good to have that person that can, that can be like, hey, this doesn't work, or that looks funny over there, fix it. So yeah. So what else are you reading, man? What else did you get recently that you've been digging?
Very recently, just today, I opened Bronze Star from Mike Barron and Pat Broderick.
Oh yeah, dude!
So I have not yet devoured this one. I plan to either tonight or tomorrow morning because this one it looks fire. I remember Broderick's work on Firestorm and just how phenomenal that looked. Can't wait to dig into that one. Another one I've been waiting a while for. And Cody,
plus, Mike Barron's he's fantastic, man. I love his stuff.
He's really good. You're right. Another one I got yesterday was Jack Irons 1 through 4. Now, Jack Irons is Steel Cowboy. Yeah. This is Cody Fernandez is the writer. He's been on my show a few times. He's a really good guy. And so I was sort of hyped to back this. I hadn't backed it before, so I got all 4, 1 through 4. And looking forward to diving into that one too. So, excited to have received that one recently. And then one more that I got super recently was Last of the Seekers from Patrick Thomas Parnell.
Nice.
Now, this one here, I hadn't originally backed this one because the topic wasn't really my bag. But when this cover came out, this is, I don't know if you guys can see it. This was just so, I am not one that typically backs just based on a cover, but having watched
that's a pretty fucking hot cover.
This is something else. So, the book could be mediocre, and I still think it'll be worth. I haven't read it yet, so I'm not saying it is mediocre. I'm just saying that even if it were, it may be worth it because this is just a hot-looking book.
Oh yeah. Well, listen, covers have to be eye-catching, right? That's the whole point of a cover. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but we use the cover to catch the eyes of people that are walking by. I used to work at my local comic shop. Worked there for the better part of a decade. Okay. And we'd have the wall of brand new comics, right? go stand there, and you go, stand across the room, and you'd look at the wall, and how many times I, would look at the wall and be like, well, none of this stands out. Nothing pops. Covers back in the day used to pop. They used to reach out and snatch them eyeballs right out of your head. And that's what we need. A cover has to grab your attention because it's supposed to be sitting on the shelf, and, you're supposed to see it from across. Yep.
Like
is that one or two?
This is two.
Okay. See, I haven't gotten two yet, but I did get my my Groken one. And see, I love the consistency that Kenneth has across the covers. You know what I mean? Like that stark contrast. He does fucking phenomenal color work, but using that negative space to frame the characters, I think that's a genius move. And doing it on 2 as well, keeping it consistent across, across the whole thing, I think that's great. And that's what I'm talking about. A cover is supposed to reach out and grab them eyeballs. It's supposed to, you're supposed to want to pick up the book and at least check it out. You judge whether or not you want to pick up the book by looking at the cover. Then you pick up the book and you look at it, and then you realize, oh, okay, there's some cool shit inside this book. Well, I'm gonna pick this book up and read it. Right. So I mean, the whole don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge people by the way they look.
Exactly.
Pick up
really
books and look at them. Well, I mean, it's like Walt Whitman always said. Don't be judgmental, be curious. It's a good way to go through life. It makes interactions with the world a lot easier. There's too much judgment in the world.
There sure
too
is.
Much.
Yep.
Ray Haylock says, I've got Groken 1. It's freaking awesome. I haven't gotten my second one yet, so I haven't read the first one. I'm waiting until I get Groken 2 so that I can read both of them at once. Oh, because I have a feeling that once I read the first one, I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna be like, I want more. I mean, you'd think after all these years of reading comics, I'd be used to that whole thing of like reading a book and then like wanting more. But it happens. I actually opened a bunch of stuff the other day. I've got Starhenged by Liam Sharp. I got the hardcover version of that when he did a Kickstarter last year or the year before. I don't know. I got a bunch of stuff that I wasn't able to open because I was moving. So I've been slowly but surely working my way through a whole bunch of stuff. And binge read. Exactly. That's what I'm going to have to do with a bunch of this stuff is just sit and binge read. But again, it's inspiring. So I feel like it helps to be well read, well versed in what's out there.
Indeed.
Do you so any novels? Do you read novels as well, or is it just mostly comic books right now?
Well, it's mostly comic books right now because in addition to writing them and publishing them, I've also got my own show Wednesday nights, and I also have 60-second Subject, which is a short that posts every night at midnight. And
nice.
Sometimes those take some research because, for example, recently there was this one that was all about a vigilante dad, and I was all set to hail him because the word was that he had found that his daughter's boyfriend had sold her into sex trafficking.
What?
So, hold on. There's more to this story. I thought that, he then abducted and killed the boy. But as it turns out, there is no evidence to support the fact that he did sell her into sex slavery, and the dad is a habitual meth user. So having learned all of that, my take on the whole thing changed dramatically. And I'm glad that I took a few more minutes. Actually, it was more like 60 to 120 minutes to really look into this and read the articles associated with it so that I didn't go on my 60-second Subject, even for a minute, and hail him as a hero. Yeah. I have seen some vigilante stories that I'm like, hell yeah, that's what I would have done. But then this one here is like, oh shit, no way, dude.
See, that's the thing about the internet. A little bit of research goes a long way to keep you from looking like an asshat. Like they're unfortunately, it being the internet, people like to pop off at the mouth all the time. And it's just sometimes doing a little bit of research will save you from looking like a jackass. I do YouTube I've been doing YouTube for the last almost 4 years now, so I'm used to making myself look like a jackass when I'm doing this kind of thing. But all it takes is a couple of minutes to go, double check something on the internet. That's all. I don't know. So yeah, it's a good thing that you did, man. That way you can actually be truthful with what you're saying and know what you're speaking about.
So yeah, the research for the 60-second subject takes a lot of time. The show prep takes some time. So do I read novels? There was a time where I read novels voraciously. I've got a whole library in the other room that is
I love
just
libraries.
full of David Eddings, Raymond Feist, J.R.R. Tolkien, etc. I could name a bunch.
Right.
And one of the sets of novels I read, which I'm going to use as a little bit of a segue, is right here. It's by Janice Hardy, and it's The Healing Wars.
Oh, okay.
So, my wife read it first, okay? And she knew that I love novels of, high fantasy, sword and sorcery. And this one here is set in kind of a medieval, almost Renaissance setting. It's a fictional world, so she could really have anything she wanted in it. But so I would liken it to that. And she said, it's a quick read. I think you'd like it. So give it a chance. And I'm like, sure, why not? I'll give it a chance. And I loved it. Really great trilogy. If I had to give it any comparisons for people who haven't read it, I would say that it's a lot like The Hunger Games or Divergent, where there is a female protagonist who has meager beginnings, who learns about her abilities, who is she's in a country that's basically occupied by an opposing military force.
Sure.
So they have been conquered, basically.
Right.
And she's got to live under the radar. And basically, this trilogy is a hero's journey. It's the typical hero's journey, but told in Janice's style. She's got some great ideas about, it's not magic. It's more of like an innate ability that some of the people have in this series. And that is to shift pain, thus the name The Shifter.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask.
I'll tell you what that is about. So those people who have that innate ability can shift pain and heal wounds, but they take the pain and they shift it into a metal called pinvium. And then the armies form weapons out of that metal. So imagine you're being struck by an axe that has pain transferred to it. You get the pain that the axe would normally deliver, plus a whole bunch of extra shit that you didn't.
Yeah. The pain that's been transfused into it. Okay.
Yes.
I see.
Yes. Now, Naya, the main character, can't do that. She can't shift the pain into the metal. She can only shift pain from one person to another.
Ah, okay.
So
that's cool.
She can use that as a weapon and learns how to do that more and more as time goes by. But she's got to make sure that the occupying army doesn't learn that, or they'll use her against her own people.
Right.
So she's got to stay under the radar. She's an orphan and she's homeless, and looking for work is difficult because of this occupying force. Plus, this occupying force has also conquered other countries. So a lot of people from those countries are immigrants in her country and taking a lot of the jobs.
Yeah.
So there is the immigration issue, if you will, being handled in this book. There is bigotry being addressed in this book because the people who are the occupying force, they're all brunette. They're Caucasians, but they're all brunettes. And they look down upon the blondes that live in this island nation.
Blonde discrimination.
That's right. And there's a lot more underlying. She sometimes uses her own, I'm going to say cute words for things. Like if she transfers arthritic pain from somebody, that is knuckle burn. She's taking knuckle burn away from them, which I thought was a neat name.
Yeah. Wow. So there's a lot of there's a whole depth of world here.
Yes, there definitely is.
I'll go ahead and bring up the campaign. So tell me how you got the exclusive license for creating this graphic novel based on these novels. How did that come about?
It's a fun story, and it's real quick. Like I said, my wife read it, suggested I read it, and because I liked it a whole lot, I was talking to my friend Steve about it, and Steve said, "Do you want to talk to the author?"
I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Apparently, he works with her husband.
There you go.
He got me in touch with Janice. She and I talked. We hammered out a licensing deal to, adapt this into comic book form.
Yeah.
And, The licensing deal has an expiration date though, so I need to get going on this. So I've got an artist from Brazil named Zilson Costa who worked with me on Siamese a few years back.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Mm-hmm.
He did issues 3 and 4 of Siamese for me. And he's looking forward to doing this one. And one of his great skills is that he can draw a teenager that looks like a teenager, not just a short adult.
Yeah, that is, children and teenagers, they got to look like kids. They can't just look like tiny adults,
Exactly.
It's a proportion issue.
It's not just proportion, but there's a few subtle differences in their facial structure because a kid's face is more rounded than an adult's might be. A boy's face is going to be more rounded than an adult's chiseled jaw or, squared. So he's really good at making the teenagers look like teenagers and adults like adults. So
well, that's good. I mean, considering this is a young adult, novel series that you're adapting here, that's kind of crucial.
That's right. It really is. The second cover that I have for this one, you're seeing the main cover right now by Zilson, but the second cover by Renzo Rodriguez is it's actually a scene from the book. And Renzo is great to work with because he takes changes in editorial comments very, very well. For example, the first time he drew this cover, he made Naya way too sexy.
gotta be careful with that, especially if you're dealing with teenagers. Gotta be careful.
It's like, wow, Renzo, this looks amazing, but she's only 14. So
let's not do that.
We need to change that a little bit. So and another thing I did about this cover is that scene is in the book. That's one of the things I appreciate about covers is that either make it a cinematic cover like the one I did above with all of the characters. I almost made it look like a movie poster.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the feeling that I get. This is the kind of the movie poster cover. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one, I appreciate it when a real scene from the book is on the cover, even if it's from a different angle or I don't know, different artists. So long as the scene is a real one, I kind of appreciate that because the cover tells me what I'm going to read.
Well, that throws back to, the stuff that we grew up on. Like the cover used to be about what was in the book. It would give you a preview of what's going to happen in the book. There's a showdown between the Thing and the Hulk, and that's what's on the cover. You see that and you're like, oh, yes, I need to read this because I want to see that story. So I agree. I think the cover should give some indication of what is going to show up in the book. That's just natural for a comic book. At least in my opinion,
No, I would agree. I've been reading comics for 50 years. So, the best heyday is the heyday you're referring back to. And that's when the story or the cover reflected the story. Yep.
What's up, Dean? Good to see you, man. He says the best covers are drawn by Dean James. I mean, that dude does draw some pretty damn good covers. I will say that. And
he's leveling up every time.
Yeah. That's the thing I love about this indie scene we've got over here is that people just keep getting better. They just keep getting better at what they do. They keep sharpening those skills, and it's awesome to see. It's inspiring to see. I hang out with a bunch of really talented people. On topic lists, me and Jason, we have other artists come hang out with us, and it's incredible just to see how these folks have just gotten better over the years. My buddy Hockey, he's getting better at, every new piece I see from him, he keeps getting better. Jason's new stuff on the on Absolute One Stormy Night, I'm just absolutely loving the energy that he's got in it. Hell, Ink Spots. Ink Spots was good when I first met him, but damn, I don't know if you've seen some of the new stuff that he's been doing on them Frog G pages, but hot damn, that shit's good. And our boy Dean here is getting just fire, man. Hey, Bionic Bruh, what's going on? Almost forgot about this one. Well, glad you're here, and thank you for being here.
Jake has been very supporting today. This is the 4th show I've been on today. So
oh wow, so you've been hitting the campaign trail.
Hitting the circuit, you bet. I took that to heart when I had Siamese out there, and I was on 80 different shows. So
shit.
Yeah, so I've got 18 scheduled for this week, and took the week off so that I could attend some of the shows that are on during the day, like CG UK Bargain Bin.
Nice.
Because I was on at 3 p.m. my time, which is 8 p.m. their time.
Yeah.
So took the week off to hit some of the daytime shows, and really hoping to reach a lot of eyes with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we're doing right now. Why I started doing this show, as a matter of fact. Let's take a look at your trailer here.
Okay.
How long is the trailer?
Naya is an orphan with a rare gift. Others with this gift can take pain from a person and transfer it into the cobalt blue metal known as pinvium. But Naya's gift is flawed. She can only transfer pain from one person to another. Orphaned on an island nation occupied by a conquering enemy and trying to locate her missing sister, Naya has to make sure they don't find out, or she'll be weaponized against her own people. Be sure to back Janice Hardy's The Healing Wars, Book 1, Part 1, The Shifter, from Dojo Kun Comics.
Short, sweet, and to the point. I like it.
Yes,
That's the way trailers should be. Yeah. Who did your trailer for you?
His name is John. What's his last name? John. I found him on Fiverr.
Okay,
He's
cool.
got about 4,500 voiceovers that he's done for corporations and trailers, and it's just he's
got a very
professional.
personable voice. It's very inviting. Come in, check out this story. You're going to enjoy this.
That's right.
Definitely.
He's definitely got the voice for voiceovers. He's very professional, very fast in delivery. So
awesome.
Yeah, very good.
Right on, man. I love a good trailer. It's just got to get the point across. So that's awesome. Ray says you should have a show for folks who can't draw. Come on, and have them draw just for fun. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, and I got a comic book to draw as myself. So I mean, maybe one day I'll get a chance to do that. There are so many people in this scene, especially my UK brethren, that I would absolutely love to hang out with more often. Like Chubb. I got to hang out with Chubb the other day for Mary Boy's Beefheads, which is another book that I just recently gotten. Fucking loved. I mean, Chubb just does such a damn good job with that book, I swear. But I miss hanging out with Chubb. He's good peeps, man. But yeah, the time zones, they're always fun to deal with.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the interior artwork on this book looks great, man. Ooh, I like this panel layout here. That's cool.
That was his idea entirely. The artist Zilson, I love it. I told him that she's going throughout her morning looking for work, and she's going to go down the dock looking at different the smithy, the baker, the tanner, and things like that. So he said, you know what? Let's make it. The whole scene is the dock, but it's her and her progression going from one merchant to another being turned down. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can also, I mean, all these pieces can kind of work together, or separately in any order, basically, and it kind of, it gives a feeling of, going in circles, as it were, and kind of confusion, and I dig it. It works. Let's see. So got the making of Shifter Ashcan. That's cool. So you're adapting this from a novel. Do you have a hand in creating the script for the book, like the actual comic book, dictating page layouts?
Yes.
Okay.
So my methodology in writing a comic book, I've been an actor since I was in the 6th grade. So nice. I view everything as if it's a script, like a play.
Right. Sure.
So that's how I write it. Now, so I'm very specific, from above, from the side, over her shoulder. And, but I still give Zilson some leeway. If he says, well, I really think this shot would look better if I did it from this angle, I'm like, dude, give it a shot. Let's see what you come up with. And I'd say more than 95% of the time, his idea is spot on and we go with it. Awesome. But a lot of times he does exactly as I wrote it, and it looks exactly as I envisioned it, and he's great to work with. So yes, I'm writing.
Well, I mean, that's why you hire talent. You hire them because they know what they're doing, and they're easy to work with.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly, they know what they're doing. He's been in this business a while. He works with an indie comic creator named Dan Sen. Dan created a book called Nature Man.
Yeah.
Nature Man is the public domain character who was popular way back when, called Nature Boy.
Yeah.
So he had, he had him, grown up as nature man. So the book that I'm adapting is around 400 pages.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
What I'm doing is I picked the first 92 pages as my cutoff for issue number 1.
Right. Okay. You got
So
that first little chunk there. Yeah.
Right. So I assume, or I plan on each novel being represented in 5 comic books. So if all goes well, this will be a series of 3 5-part miniseries.
Okay. How many pages are we looking at in the comic book?
In this comic book, there's 28 pages of story.
Okay. 28 pages of story. Excellent.
Yep. So I distilled the 92 down, and that was really the task that I had. Obviously, Janice already wrote the story, but I had to decide what pieces of the story would make this move along best in comic book form, because some of it was exposition, some of it was she was describing the scene. Well, I don't need to do that
exactly.
other than tell Zilson, hey, it's a steamboat docked, at a dock. So it's a lot easier for me to say that and for him to do more of a show than tell kind of thing.
Picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's always an interesting transition to go from a novel to a comic book, because, like you say, there's a lot of exposition that you kind of have to work into what happens in the book. There's a lot of description stuff that gets basically condensed down into like images. Telling the story through images. I mean, comics are a unique medium. It's a unique type of alchemy that we have to use pictures and words together to make something completely new. So it's always an interesting process to go from novel to comic book.
So there you saw that there's a coloring book available.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because it's aimed toward a young adult audience, I think that some people are probably going to buy it for teens and perhaps even a little bit younger. So I thought I'd make a coloring book available. It's 22 pages. It's got a few scenes from inside the book and then a few other sketches and things like that to color. So hopefully that'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean, coloring books, they have adult coloring books too. The pictures with all the different, line art in it. And I see them all over Barnes & Noble. Not that I go into Barnes & Noble all that often anymore, but whenever I do, there's always like this big display of adult coloring books. So, it's
a good stress relief.
Yeah. I draw out of stress relief. So, it works out for me.
There you go. I'm hashtag just a writer.
Okay. Yeah. It's creative process, man. It's not just writing. It's creative heavy lifting of the mind, the way I see it. So we've got the main cover, which is you're using for the coloring book as well, and then the Renzo Rodriguez cover. And it looks like the campaign is you got just what you need here. The Healers League tier. Now, what is this? This has got everything in it?
So this is nearly everything. It looks like you're looking at the Kickstarter campaign right here. Is that accurate?
Yeah. That was the link that you gave me. Yeah.
The Kickstarter campaign has the Healers League tier has both covers, the Ash Can, which is the making of, and the coloring book, in addition to any stretch goals met. Now, on the Fund My Comic campaign, there is a tier above this one called the Healing Wars tier. And in that one, there's a 3D print of Danello's sword. You're looking at his sword right there on the screen. But Danello's sword comes as in the top tier on the Fund My Comic, and there will be 10 of these available.
Wow. That would make a cool letter opener.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? So I got a local guy who will 3D print this for me, and he's willing to do 10 of them. It takes about 16 hours to print each one.
Yeah. Yeah, and the higher the detail, the longer it takes to print that stuff out. So, and
you would think that based on the fact that it's just a sword and a stand, but the fact that it says Danello's blade across the front here adds a level of detail that slows it down a bit.
Yeah, but it looks like it turned out good, and it looks like a sturdy print too. It's nice
really
smooth
sharp,
lines. Yeah,
and I love the filament he used, this black and red combination.
Yeah, kind of looks like dark copper.
he said to me, if you want, I could do like a sword in the silver. And I'm like, no, this looks hot, dude. I like this right just like this. So yeah, we're doing it in that red and black filament.
Dig it. Yeah, everybody, like if you're into the 3D printed stuff and you want the props, definitely go over to Fund My Comic, and everybody should be checking out fundmycomic.com anyway. I'm wicked proud of Luke Stone and the amount of stuff that he's been able to accomplish with that site so far, and it's just the beginning. You know, he's kicking ass over there. He's
got a few things he's looking at updating and making changes and all that, but you know, in the meantime, it's a really great site.
It is a really great site. I'm super happy that there are more and more people, you know, putting their books up over there. I mean, we were talking about Irene. She's got Fiendish 2.5 up there, and it seems to be doing really well. You know, Hojo's got Mythicals over there. You know, that's doing really well. You know, our boy Edwin Azevedo, he's going to be launching his second chance for Bloodbone over there.
I think this was on Fund My Comic too, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. Man, that's such a great cover,
isn't it? Though.
Yeah, and you know, hearing Mike Barron talk about that, he was saying this is the work of Pat's life. You know, he's doing some of the best work he's ever done. That is a damn cool cover, and there is not enough. There's not enough Western comics out there anymore. You know. Like that used to be one of like the biggest sellers in comic books, you know, Westerns, along with romance, you know, and I don't know if we necessarily need more of those unless somebody is actually skilled at writing those. But yeah, more Western comics. I know Razor Fist has his Ghost of the Badlands that he did a crowdfunder for.
My previous campaign, Projectile Reptile, starts off in the American Old West.
Yeah,
he's an outlaw that comes to town, and he is cursed by a druid, turned into the projectile reptile. But then about halfway through the comic, he's sent through time to modern day Los Angeles, and then hilarity ensues.
Oh yeah, I mean, fish out of water story, absolutely.
Right, exactly. Yep.
Thank you, Feline. I appreciate you dropping that link in there. See, partner in crime, always got my back. Ray says, super proud of Luke and Fund My Comic. Hell yeah, man. Doing some awesome work over there. You know, and we need those other sites. We need, you know, those other outlets, you know, because Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they for whatever reason decide at the drop of a hat, basically, whether or not they're going to shadow ban campaigns. And it's just, there seems to be no rhyme or reason to it. So it's kind of silly.
You would think that they would only go after like the big names that they have an issue with, but they even went. I got shadow banned. I'm not a big name. It's like, why am I shadow banned? I don't
know. The whole guilty by association thing I think is fucking bullshit.
Could be.
I don't cotton to that type of thinking. I realize not everybody, you know, thinks the same way I do, but guilty by association is bullshit posturing, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, what's up, Rick? Thanks for being here. Good to see you.
Hail, Rick. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming to hang out, man. Yeah, I really dig this Renzo cover, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's very good.
I love the colors on it, and you know the juxtaposition, the framing. It's really, really well done.
Interestingly enough, the colorist on that one is Josh Rodriguez. No relation to Renzo Rodriguez.
Well, I mean, I understand Rodriguez is a very popular last name. It's a very popular surname. So, yeah, that's cool. So, how many? You said how many books are there? There's 3 books, and they're about 400 pages each. You said. That's
right. Yeah. So I assume that if all goes well, we'll get 5 comic books out of each of the novels.
Wow, so that's a hefty chunk of story. Now, you think once you get them all published in floppy form, which because I'm assuming that you're doing saddle stitch with these.
That's correct. Yep, these will be saddle stitch, and then what I'd like to do, all goes well, is do 3 trade paperbacks, collecting 5 issues each time.
That's what I was going to ask next. Collected editions down the road,
and who knows? So yeah, if things go really well, maybe an omnibus collecting all 15.
Absolutely. You know, that was my next. You saw where I was going. That was my next question as well. Yep. You know, it's funny because I love floppies. You know, I've been collecting floppy issues for, decades. But it does really seem like the market has kind of shifted more towards like a collected edition. You can blame it on manga, you can blame it on, writing for the trade paperback, whatever it is. But it really does seem like people want something that they can, put on their shelves, that has a spine, you can read it, and, you can grab it off the shelf and you get a solid chunk of story, So I like that. I've been going through, I've got, you probably can't see it, but I've got the Berserk Deluxe Edition up on the shelf up there. And just going through that book, I mean, it is incredible. Like, the artwork is just amazing, and that is a chunk of story. There's a lot in there, and it's a lot to go through. So I mean, it's a balancing act sometimes. You want to give people a lot of story, but at the same time, those big chunks of story can get a little expensive.
You're telling me, bud.
Yeah, well, I mean, and printing. Printing is not cheap these days, and shipping is even worse.
That's the part that really killed me on Siamese. Siamese broke even, and the main reason for that was the postage. It was during COVID. Postage was sky high, and I had not prepared for that, and only asked a pittance for international shipping, and that just killed me. I think I asked for maybe $20 for international shipping, and it turned out to be $35 in most cases, and up to $65 in some cases. I had backers in South Africa, in the Netherlands, in Japan. So when that started adding up, it was like, oh, there goes all the profits for that one. But it broke even, so I didn't lose on that one.
There you go. At least there's that.
Yeah. Yep. So that's
well.
good.
I mean, and you learn. Each campaign, each book, it's a learning process.
Indeed.
I mean, at least you hope that it's a learning process. You learn from the mistakes of the past, and you're able to apply them to the next thing that you do. That's how we get better. That's how we sharpen the axe.
That's right.
That's how we get better at what we do. I hope you're enjoying the Cowboys Chargers game there, bub. Thank you for coming back to hang out a little bit. Appreciate that. We'll be the halftime entertainment, as it were.
There will be no wardrobe malfunctions. I'm just saying.
Nah, not over here. Not over here. Besides, ain't nobody wants to see that.
That's right. Nobody does.
Yeah. Cool, man. This is really cool. So you ever think about, since you're doing these in floppy form, have you thought about trying to get these in comic shops at all? I mean, I realize most of the crowdfunding, it's direct to customer, so there's kind of no need for the comic shops, which, I mean, I love my old comic shop, even though it's been sold to somebody else, it's still, it's still the comic shop I grew up going to, my childhood comic shop. I would love to see some kind of hybrid where we can get these books crowdfunded and then be able to put them in comic shops, because that's what Brian Polito does.
I would love to do that, Luke. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a few comic books in the area locally that said they'd be willing to do that.
Awesome.
One of them is a chain of comic books, so they've got a few that are outside of my area. Hopefully that will work as well. Yeah. But I'd love to be able to reach out to stores across the country and just say, hey, would you be willing to take 5 of these and see what happens on your shelf with these 5? Yeah. Because I really think that these 2 covers do it justice and will grab the eye of the customer just as well as any that it could be put next to.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's some good contrast here. I mean, this is obviously, like we said, the movie poster cover, and then this. I mean, the colors on this, that moon right there is eye catching. That purple on black. There's something about that combination that's really awesome. Backstage, we were talking about the Bud Ruth Lilith picture that Dan Lawless colored. And I think that would look amazing on a black T-shirt. But that purple and black, I don't know. And I guess it's also kind of like that this time of year, like purple and black, orange and black. Those are fall colors. Those are Samhain colors, and I like it. Yeah. That would be cool to be able to get these in comic shops, and because a lot of the new stuff is, for lack of a better term, a lot of the new stuff that's being put out by the big 2 is shit. It really is. It's not good. And I watched, people that used to be really into the stuff that was coming out slowly chip away at their pull list, and less and less and less. And to be able to have good indie comics that people can actually add to their pull list, I mean, that helps the indie comics scene, that helps comic shops, and that helps people get more stuff. I mean, because there are these people that still go to comic shops, that still will put their orders in, come in with 3 handwritten pages of previews orders because they want to try a bunch of stuff. They want to check out, indie books that are in the book, but they don't do the whole online thing. They don't do the whole crowdfunding thing because they're old school. They've been doing this for 30 years this way, and they're not going to change anytime soon. So being able to market to those people as well, I think is kind of an untapped resource for indie comics over here. We've got the old methods. We've got these new methods, I should say, with the crowdfunding and the online and promoting like this. But we've still got the old methods that work if you know how to use them, if you're willing to put the legwork in. The indie publisher that I'm working for right now, working with more, Shattermare Comics, they have been doing it old school. Going to conventions, they've been going to comic shops, like putting foot to pavement, calling people, and checking up on them each and every month. Hey, giving them good deals on buying a certain amount of books. And they're closing in on, I think, 10 issues now of Hardly Heroes.
Wow, that's great.
Yep. And saddle stitched, just regular floppies. So
I do have every intention to going to conventions, probably beginning next year.
Nice.
I got a 8-foot cutout of one of my main characters, Deanna Hammer of the Angels. It is gorgeous. I put it up in our sunroom, and it was like, it's huge. I'm like, this is going to get, because in our sunroom it's one thing, but in a convention hall it'll still be dwarfed by the fact that the ceilings are 30 feet high, but I still think this will grab the attention of people as they're going by, and they might stop at the table and say, "Hey, who's this?"
Well, that's what your backdrop is supposed to do. Your backdrop is supposed to say, "Hey, this is something cool. Come check this out. You want to see what this table is all about." I mean, that's what it's supposed to do.
Yep.
There's an ebb and flow of the conventions. You gotta. It's just like the cover. The cover up on the wall, that's you at the convention. That's you at your table. You got to have something that's going to catch people's eyes and tell them, "Hey, come on over here. I got some cool shit to show you. You want to take a look at this.
You want to look at this. You want to buy some."
Exactly. This is something you want to add to your collection. This is something that is worth your time and worth your money.
Right.
That's awesome, man. So is this the first thing that you've published from Dojo Kun that is not something that you've written?
No, as a matter of fact,
okay.
I've had some other authors working with me through the years. I worked on a collaboration with David Whalen. He is he's a prolific comic book creator. He's in indie comics in the scene, but it doesn't really have a label of any kind. He eschews labels. But he gave me a concept of basically the children of all of the movie monsters and what they would do if they banded together to look for their parents. So it's a horror comic book. It's 100 pages. I wrote the book, and he drew and lettered the whole thing. So it's just the two of us on it. I have a few that are anthologies where there are several other people involved in writing some of the stories, and I wrote some of the stories. And I've got one called,
excuse me.
Sorry, let's see. So I Am Become Death is what it's called. And it was a short story by Nicholas Prontka.
Yeah.
It's a short story by Nicholas Prontka that was prose. And I asked him, could I make it a comic book and put him on there as a writer? And he said, yeah, let's do that.
Cool.
I can tell you this. There is a wicked twist at the end. I was like, I got to do this. I've got to make a comic out of this because that
awesome.
It was so unexpected.
Yeah. That's cool because my next question was, what's the future for Dojo Kun Comics? Obviously you want to do more of these if they're successful, but what else you got, in the pike for people to get excited about?
Let me go to share my screen.
Okay. Yeah. Bring it on up.
Okay. So let me find the right place here. Here we go. So I won't talk about Projectile Reptile. That's already done. But let's look at what's coming up. So near future projects. Dojo Kun Chronicles is, as you can see, the cover here by Eric Nineltowski.
Oh, Eric is so damn good. I love his work.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
I love his line work, man. So good.
I also have variants by Stefani Renee.
Also amazing. Also amazing.
I know. And
damn, dude. Good on you.
A married couple called Candy Couple who had
a
a
not
very
familiar with
racy
them.
cover for me.
Right on.
So it's 120 pages. There's 4 writers involved, 16 artists, 10 colorists, and 6 letterers. So 80% of the pages are new. 20% are reprinted from a book that I previously published, which I'll scroll down and show you. It was called Toro Tales. Where's it? Right here. So 20% of that 120 page book is these 4 titles, these 4 stories, and the rest, 80% of it is brand new stories.
Awesome.
So that's coming out next, followed by Siamese 2, Trident's New Alliance. So the girls from Siamese join a superhero team headed by Deanna, Hammer of the Angels.
Okay, man,
Once
look at that hammer.
There, yeah, right. Actually, technically, that's a mall, but I call her Hammer of the Angels.
Right.
She is also going to have her own solo book called Deanna, Hammer of the Angels. Duh. And then I've got 2 others that are in the queue. One is called Cobra Lily Bed Chambers. This one is going to be an all pinup book. And as her pose on the cover suggests, the interiors, the pinups inside are going to be Dojo Kun characters in various states of undress.
Oh, so it's going to be a little racy.
Very racy, yes, like very.
Okay.
And there are 5 characters, 5 female characters from Dojo Kun Comics who this whole thing is being written as if Cobra Lily is narrating it, okay? Kind of a throwback to the Marvel swimsuit editions.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
There are 5 characters who declined to be in the book, if you will. So they'll be at the end of the book with an explanation as to why they said, no thanks. I'm not going to pose for this.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a story going on with it. It's not just pinups. It's mostly pinups, but there's a little story going along as well. I mean, and that's, it's fun. They do a little tongue-in-cheek, cheeky type stuff. That's a good way to do it, I think.
And then lastly in the queue is who is the somnambulant? Now, this character here,
good word.
Somebody was drawing these types of characters, and I asked him for the rights to use this particular drawing as a character in my book. Now, that is not the somnambulant.
Okay.
She is the somnambulant hunter. The word somnambulant, by the way, means sleepwalker.
Yeah.
So some people were asking me, like, what the hell is that? But sleepwalker is kind of taken. Marvel has that.
Yeah.
So we'll go with somnambulant.
You know what? I like a title that makes people go look up a word in the dictionary. I mean, reading Chris Claremont's X-Men always made me go look up words. I had to go look up words. Like, what does that mean? And, trying to pick up like what the word means by, reading the context around the word. It became fun to try to figure out what the word meant and then go look it up to see if I was right.
Something I learned
75% of the time I could figure it out.
Just in context, right?
Yeah,
something
just
I
in
learned
context.
from a comic book years and years and years ago. Carmine Infantino was drawing the Flash at the time, and he faced an enemy that was diseased and had what most people called the John Merrick disease, or the Elephant Man. But in the book, I learned that that's actually called neurofibromatosis.
Okay, so I didn't know that. Yeah.
I learned that from a Flash comic book, and I've never forgotten it. I've never really had to use it again, to be honest with you. But if for some reason that stuck, and that's the kind of thing I love about comics, is it's also a learning experience sometimes.
Well, good writing. Okay, so you know where I learned what DNA stood for? Where? From G.I. Joe. Dr. Mindbender, the oxyribonucleic acid, the building blocks of life. Like I watched that cartoon as a kid, and that, it stuck in my head. So later on in school, like the teacher's like, okay, so who knows what DNA stands for? My hand goes right up and it was deoxyribonucleic acid, So yeah, good writing everywhere. You know, good writing should be everywhere. You should learn from stuff. It doesn't always have to be a learning experience, but you know, it's got to have. And hey, chat, my favorite word. It's got to have that verisimilitude. Using stuff from the real world, making it feel grounded, making it feel, you know, fleshed out and whole. But yeah, good word, somnambulant. And yeah, people should, you know, be made to go look things up. I think it's a good thing. Expand your mind. Oh,
I've got some merch available on my website. And then here's the first campaign, Siamese. We talked about that a little bit. And then as I alluded to earlier, I've been publishing on my own since 2014. Yeah. I had worked for 2 small press companies before that. One was called Affinity Press. One was called Red King Press. But after having parted ways with those guys, I opened Dojo Kun Comics, and I've published 12 comics since then.
Nice. 12 different titles, huh?
Well, the title, like here, Siamese had 4 issues.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So 12 comics over the course of a few different titles. Very cool. And
The Mad King is a 3-issue miniseries. This cover here was by David Whalen, the one who did The Loved Ones over here on the right.
Yeah.
The second cover, though, is a painting by Annette Bell. And Annette is painting all the interiors of these 2 books. Every panel in the book is a small painting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Okay.
I love how she's doing this. Yeah.
It's not often you see that anymore. You know, that's kind of what Inkspots is doing with the with Frog G. You know, he's doing a lot of traditional colors on printed out pages. Okay. So he's painting on them essentially. But yeah, and I love seeing stuff like that, man. It adds. I mean, it adds to it. You know, it makes it's a little different. You know, it's that eye-catching thing. You know, I mean, this is comics. You know, we gotta have fun. We gotta push the boundaries. We gotta do different things. You know, get people's eyes.
Exactly. If everything was very homogenous, then people would be like, I don't know. But if there's something different you can do, then, you know, it's good to grab people's attention. And this one here, Dojo Kun Comics Annual Compendium, man, I wish it was annual. The second annual one might be a couple of years later, but I have over 154 characters. And this is my homage to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe.
Oh, so yeah, sure.
Each one has a full body picture of the character, all of their stats and origin and history and powers sets and things like that. So, yeah.
Right on, man.
Major fun.
That is awesome. And see, another thing that I love about this scene is that a lot of the indie creators over here, they grew up reading comics. They grew up with stuff like the official Marvel handbook. And it influences what they make. They want to recreate that fun. Pete Samedi, I had a absolutely amazing conversation with Pete Samedi the other day when I was on his show. And you know, I backed King Cryptid. I can't wait to get the physicals. But I also got the digitals. He sent me the first 4, and I love those books, man. They are so much fun to read. You know, they got good pacing, good story, and they feel like a classic Marvel comic. You know, like the artwork is on point, the colors, the story is all there, and it has that pacing and that, you know, that kind of enjoyable magic feel that the Marvel books used to have. Yeah. And you know, you feel good after reading them. You enjoyed this story, and it was a self-contained issue, and you can move on to the next one. It's connected to the first one, but you know, I love them. They're good books, man. So I mean, I love that stuff, and I love seeing people, you know, use the stuff that influenced them, or use the stuff that they love to influence what they're creating now, because they want to recreate that feeling that they had when they were kids. I think that's important. If we can get the younger generation to feel the same way we did about comic books, then this will continue.
Yes,
because otherwise it'll die out. You know, so yeah. What's up, Ms. Good Stuff? She says, you're a streaming animal, Luke. And Feline says, yes, he is, Ms. G. Yeah, I mean, this is Monday nights. I have 2 slots usually, and I just happen to have both of them filled up today. So I
appreciate you having me on. I know you said that you got a lot to do tonight. So,
yep, I gotta get back to work on Mercenary Guild. You know, right. Sign up is live, and if you do sign up for Mercenary Guild, there's going to be an exclusive Nicole the Elven Sorceress trading card that you'll get when you back the book. But yeah, let's see. Yes, and tomorrow tomorrow at 5 p.m. EST. Come hang out with me and Flying Feline on her channel for the Happy Hour Hangout. She's currently working on that trivia for the Hangout. And yeah, I sometimes don't do all that well in the trivia, but I always learn something. So everybody go subscribe to her channel. She's criminally undersubbed. But yeah, and everybody should come hang out tomorrow at 5 p.m. for the Happy Hour Hangout, because it's always a good time. We have good conversations on the the first hour, and then the second hour is dedicated to trivia, which is so much fun. But anything else you want to say about the shifter before we go ahead and wrap up here?
Just that if you decide not to back it because young adult books aren't your thing, I'd really appreciate it if you see the tweets out there in the Twitterverse, if you could repost for me, because every set of eyes on it is another opportunity to get a backer.
Absolutely.
So those people who are retweeting, I really appreciate you. You are a big help.
Absolutely. Get the word out there. The more eyes on the projects, the better. And I fully believe that it is a rising tide lifts all boats. The more we can do to lift each other up and help each other out, the better we all do. That is my personal belief. I realize it may not be the belief of everybody else, but that's how I'm going to run this shit. That's how I'm going to live my life.
Appreciate it. Yes.
As I said with Pete, we must be the change we wish to see in the world. So that's how I'm going to do it. Dojo, this was a blast, man. Thanks for coming to hang out. Chat,
Great
you guys are always amazing. And remember,
Shop smart, shop S-Mart.